Before we start the show, let's hear from one of our sponsors. Their support keeps this show free for you. Hey there, Peace and Parenting family. If you love the podcast but wish to enjoy it without interruptions, your wish has come true. Introducing the ad-free version of the Peace and Parenting podcast, available exclusively on Apple Podcast. As a subscriber, you'll get all the heartfelt advice, parenting stories, and actionable tips you love without any ads. For less than the cost of a coffee each month, you will enjoy uninterrupted listening while also supporting our work to help you build stronger connections with your kids. Try it out for free. Simply find Peace and Parenting on Apple Podcasts, click Try Free, and you'll gain immediate access to our ad-free episodes. There's no commitment and you can cancel anytime. So if you're ready for a more peaceful, uninterrupted listening experience, subscribe now. Let's keep focusing on connection without the distractions. Hi, I'm Michelle, a mother of 2 teens. 13 years ago, I traded in punishments and rewards for connection. Now I prioritize relationship over behaviors, utilize play as a parenting tool, and set limits with empathy instead of consequences. Each week, I share my journey and interview clients, experts, and followers. Thanks for joining me on the Peace and Parenting podcast. I'm so glad you're here. Hey, I'm so glad to be here live talking all about parenting. I'm going to have a lovely guest on, Danielle, and she is going to be joining us. She is one of the members of my mastermind, and she is going to tell us her experience around connected parenting. Hi, Danielle.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. I'm so glad to see you outside of courses and outside of one-on-ones. I just get to see you. How are you?
I'm doing good.
Good.
I miss you.
I know, I miss you too. So I just introduced and said that you were part of my mastermind. You also took my one-on-one course. You took my old membership. You've been working on your parenting using connection for a long time. Where were you before you started all this work with your sweet son?
Sure. Well, I'll go back just a little bit further. So I grew up in a house that was very much punishment, rewards, bribes, very little connection, lots of threats. It was just not, I love my parents, no fault of theirs, but it was a hard place. So when I got pregnant with my son, I just was determined that I was going to parent very differently, but I had no clue what that looked like at all. I didn't even know, from what I knew growing up, it was, threats, bribes, punishments.
Yep.
So I was pretty clueless. And then I had my son, and he had colic really bad. So that was challenging for us, but I think brought us really close. And then as he grew, I started to learn he was very strong-willed and feels things very, very deeply. I was still set that I was going to parent without punishment. And then I started to find myself, I think, honestly, 2 times I tried time out with him, and it didn't feel good for me. It didn't work for him. And I felt at a loss, and more so deep inside me, I felt like the anger, you know what I mean? I was starting to feel angry and just I couldn't control it. I was going to have to punish. And so then I started looking into just parenting and started reading more parenting books. I took a couple other courses, and then I found you, and I think he was 3, almost 3. And that's when we started our individuals. And from there, it's been life-changing, honestly.
Yay. I'm so glad. So tell me, what is it? What's been your experience with this idea of connection? How has it been helpful in your house?
I think for me, it was just understanding that, connection is more than just being present with your child in the house.
Yes. Yes.
Connection has to happen at all times, whether they're, quote unquote, being good or being bad, you have to be connected with them at all times. So if they're having a hard time, you have to be willing to sit there and work through that with them, but also, enjoying your child. So spending time with them and playing with them and getting down on your knees and just enjoying being a parent, which, the play I had to work on, but now I love it. There's days when I have terrible, terrible days, and I come home, and as much as I don't want to do special time, I do it. And then I feel better inside.
Yes. Our limbic system links to their limbic system, and somehow we feel parenting feels more worth it when you're invested in your kid.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely when you're invested in your kid. And I love how you say it's connection is all the other moments, because those putting out the fire moments, like the kid who's screaming at the table or the child who won't put their shoes on, like you can douse water on that. But if you don't keep, the brush cleared, if you don't keep fire retardant on the things that are going to burn, if you don't maintain your garden with the weeds, they're just all going to come back. So it's connection in all those outside moments, really. Yeah.
If I could just say one thing about that, like I remember going to bed at night before I started working with you, and I would just cry and be so sad because I was like, I'm not gonna do this again. I'm not gonna get so angry or whatever. And then the next day would happen again. And now it's like, even if I don't handle something the way I wanted to, I go to bed, I can still sleep at night. I still know that I have a relationship with my child, and I can wake up tomorrow and try it again.
Yeah.
And then through all the work I've done with you, I know where to go. I know what resources to turn to, just, what I need to feel better. Even just journaling for a minute, to get through something
and it's not easy, is it, Danielle?
Oh no, it's absolutely not easy.
Oh, and you can even have all these tools and you can know all this idea of connection, just like I do this morning. My daughter, I'm just going to go off on a little tangent here. I'm taking over now. My daughter this morning, she's upset. She's 17. She's having a hard time. She has college applications to do. She's got, her school is starting soon. She has to do this essay, a lot of stuff happening. She's kind of percolating. We're going on a trip and she found out we have to change planes.
Oh,
and all of a sudden, the world is ending because we have to change planes. Oh my God, why did you get us two planes? How could you? And I was like, it's the only way I'm sorry. It's the only way. But it wasn't about, it was about all this underlying stuff. But all I'm trying to illustrate is that it's always going to be hard.
Oh yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I think every morning we still have a challenge. Mornings are hard, but we get out the door and no one's screaming or yelling. And we all usually leave with, smiles and it's okay. But I know how to handle them. I know if we wake up later, he wakes up sad. I know if I just sit there, support him in whatever way, whether it's play, empathy, listening, we're going to get out the door.
Yeah. And these moments that are hard, right? The big feelings moments, the big emotions moments, like the one I had with Esme this morning, they're actually good in many ways because our kid gets a place to process their feelings like we never did.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the one or two most important things that you learned in either the mastermind or my one-on-ones? What are the most important things that you learned?
Oh gosh, there's so many. I think one thing for me that's helped me, because I don't know anybody who parents this way or is trying. I'm surrounded by parents who just do the typical traditional parenting.
Yeah.
I do get some looks even from my family or judgment, and it's just the being able to, in my head, knowing the brain science behind it and why it works is helpful. But then also just knowing that it's just a moment, when your kid's having that tantrum, not forever. Like they're offline. They're not doing well. It may or may not have anything to do with you, but they just need you there.
Yeah.
I think that's huge. And I feel like as a child, that has to feel so good to know you can be whatever in front of your mom or dad and they're going to accept and love you.
I love how you say that because I think about that sometimes. I think about like, oh my gosh, what if my parents held space for me?
Mm-hmm.
Can you imagine the relationship that you would have with them? Could you imagine the self-esteem you would have? Could you imagine all the beautiful things that would come from just your parent holding space for your feelings and not judging you and loving you unconditionally? Just that one idea.
Absolutely.
That's life-changing for any person. And so if you just do that, you've changed the whole trajectory of your family.
Yeah.
Time for a short break to acknowledge our sponsors. Because of them, you're able to enjoy this podcast without paying a dime. What if you spent the next 30 days really focusing on connection with your kids? What do you think sibling rivalry would look like? How would cooperation go? And what would the feeling be in your home? Join my 30-day challenge. For 30 days, you join me and my coach, Martha, and really explore the ideas of connection. We do group coaching for the entire month, and you have access to all of the Peace and Parenting materials. Please join us for our 30-day challenge. Find the link in the show notes.
My book, Unpunished, is finally here. It is my journey into connected parenting, the idea of perfection and how it nearly took me down as a mom. I give you my best thinking around how to be a connected parent and the insights that I've discovered over the last 12 years of this incredible journey. I'm giving my book away for free, plus shipping and handling. So go to unpunished.com and get yours today. We're shipping domestically and we're also shipping internationally. Okay, let's get back to the show.
Do you want to talk a little bit about like getting your husband on board and how that all worked? Because you guys really, they did these courses, they did this the one-on-one together, and it was a beautiful thing. And your husband's, he's great, he's amazing. But do you want to talk about where he was before and what that was like? And
sure. So he was the opposite of me. He grew up in a house that was almost the complete opposite. There wasn't really, necessarily the physical punishment or all that, but he didn't really get the empathy or listening. He had a lot of that. So he struggles still to this day. When I talk to him about doing this, he's like, I'm starting to figure it out. but he does. He struggles with the empathy piece, and he still worries a little bit, about not if we're doing the right thing. Cause I tell you what, he will say more things to me now. Like, I'm so glad we don't parent Jax like that. Or I'm so, and I'm like, and it's great to hear him say that, but we've always been on the same page with it. I think when he is around other kids and sees the difference between that parent, child relationship and then the one we have, is when he really, he gets invested in it, if that makes sense. But he still struggles. I'll tell you, it's still concerning to me, but we were camping this weekend, and as you know, we've had a lot of issues with Jax, who's about to be 5, crazy enough, want to be like bad guys and guns, and all of his friends use guns, and we've talked about this so much. And so I decided that, I'm going to just teach him about guns and safety and this and that. So he bought himself a BB gun that he can only use with dad when they're camping. He's does his dad stuff. Well, he has a fake one that doesn't work, and he'll walk around with that in the woods when we're camping and thinks he's so cool. He's like policeman looking for bad guys, whatever he does. And he got mad at me because I told him that we were getting ready to go dirt biking, and he wasn't ready to go. And he got furious and he started having a tantrum. And he had this BB gun, the fake one, and he pointed it at me and shot it. Actually pulled the trigger and shot it. And I stayed calm. I didn't say a word. He instantly dropped the gun to the ground, ran to me bawling, apologizing. And my husband lost his mind. And, he wasn't there. He was like, he was around the corner. He's like, no. Like, I could hear him. And from that day, I can't tell you how many times Jax has said to me, Mommy, I'm so sorry. And I don't even have to bring it up.
you didn't have to reprimand him, and you didn't have to scold him, and you didn't have to do any of the things because he's so connected to you.
Yeah.
He already knew it was wrong.
Well, absolutely. And he's so honest too. Cause I said, buddy, I know you didn't want to hurt me. And he goes, yes, I did. I was mad at you.
Well, he was mad at you. And you know what? He's right. He snapped in that moment. His prefrontal went totally offline. He had no idea what he was doing. He didn't have any impulse control, and he did the wrong thing. But the recovery was incredible.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what I mean, where my husband, I think once he saw that and he's seen him still, he brought it up. Jax just brought it up the other night and said, he brought it up, and then I said something about it. And he goes, Mommy, please, let's not talk about it. It makes me so sad. I said, okay, we won't talk about it. But I think my husband's starting to see that, it works. It just a process, it's a process. And as scary as it is as any parent to see their child do that, I have to believe that he knows it was wrong. He knows he could have.
Yeah, because Danielle, if you went the whole other way and you're like, you're never having a BB gun again, you're going to timeout, we're not going dirt biking, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
what would that have done? And what would the fallout of that be? And where would he go internally and emotionally around all of that? It would have just been a big mess.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And that's what I was overdoing. On the other side of the car, I could hear his comments. I'm like,
take the gun away. He's grounded. He's only 5, but he's grounded.
But yeah, I mean, it worked out. And that was probably one of the scariest moments I've had with him. He's only 5 and that's a scary thing, but
yeah. You should feel you've worked really hard. Back to the mastermind and also to the one-on-one coaching. What things did you learn in the mastermind, or what things about the mastermind are helpful, the community piece of that?
Yeah. So, the one thing in the mastermind, which I don't think is until the end, but the listening partnership, I've had my listening partner for, over a year now. She's amazing. That's huge. The community, I did, your, question answer sessions before the mastermind too. And I still am connected with parents in there. We still communicate with each other and have.
So cute. I didn't know that.
We do. We follow each other on Instagram. We text message each other. It's just a great support. And then just the mastermind, I think, is great because you get all the resources right there that you can refer to. You can ask questions that are specific to your own family, which is huge with the one-on-one. Yeah. And the puts every piece together. It shows you how everything works together. You can't just do, one thing and then still, bribe or punish. You have to do it all to make it work.
I think that's an important piece because I think a lot of people will want to be like, oh, I'm just gonna, and it's great. Everyone should follow me on Instagram. But you can't just look at a post and listen to a podcast and then be like, oh yeah, I can do it all, because it is kind of an intricate process. It's a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
It's a lot of stuff. And the modules, I think what are good in the mastermind is that you have all the modules, which are 10 modules, and they're all, presentations of connection. And then you get to keep them for a year.
Right.
So that's good. What about the one-on-one? What do you think the biggest benefits that you had from the one-on-one?
I think for me, it was looking at obviously being able to talk about, our family and stuff we were dealing with, and, as a family, but just the times when you were able to show me why something was so triggering to me, and in connecting that back to something in my past and working at. I mean, parenting, I've learned, is so much working on yourself and your own traumas, because it comes up. It still comes up, every day. There's something that I'm like, why did that just trigger me? And I seem to always be able to get it, connected back to something I struggled with as a child or a young adult, that I just worked through. Yeah. And it helps you feel better as a person.
Yeah, it really does. And I think you're right. It's like that piece is, so I like to think of parenting with connection as 3 pieces. One is, how do I take care of myself so I can do this work because it's so darn hard?
Yeah.
And then how do I dive into my childhood so that I don't have so many triggers? And then actually, how do I use connection? So it really is like that 3-fold piece. And I think in the one-on-ones and also in the mastermind, I really try to make sure we hit all of those pieces. So even in the mastermind, you get the journaling piece, which is super helpful. And in the one-on-one, you get that, of course, that one-on-one attention where you really get to dive in a lot deeper. Yeah.
It truly is. I'm not just saying that. I mean, it has changed, the trajectory of our family. Like I was at a loss. I just knew I didn't want to parent that way, and I didn't want to be a passive parent. And I want to say that too. Like it empowers you to be able to set a limit and know whatever feelings come out, you can handle them. I can say no to him with 100 people around. Oh, he may or may not have a tantrum, but I'm okay with that because
That's amazing.
And I felt that's where I was going. It was like, well, I'm not going to punish, so I don't know what to do, so I'm just going to ignore. And my husband was really passive, and I'm like, this isn't good. Gotta have a balance, and it's been I mean, it's easy to set limits, I should say. Parenting is not easy. Let me correct that.
No, parenting is not easy. Even setting limits is not easy, actually, because then you have to listen to the feelings, and listening to the feelings is not fun.
Yes, exactly. It's not easy. No. But the concept of it, of just knowing, like, I'm going to do this, I'm going to have the feelings, but you feel so empowered to know you have the support and the tools to get through it.
Yeah. And one more thing, and then we'll head out of here. But the idea of permissive parenting, I think you're exactly right. You hit the nail on the head. There are so many of us that say, I don't want to be what my parents were. I don't want to punish. I don't want to do these things. So then we just get into this thing where we're just telling our kid yes all the time, doing whatever we can to make sure they don't tantrum, walking on eggshells to make sure nothing goes wrong. And that becomes permissive parenting because the feelings get stuck and the connection gets eroded. With the permissive parenting, you can erode the connection just as much. So I do believe connected parenting really gives you that head up or that arm up on making this whole pedagogy work with limits.
Yes.
Yeah. I think so too. Okay. Thank you for joining me, Danielle. It's always so lovely to see you. I really appreciate you coming on here. I know it's kind of annoying.
Oh, it was great. Thank you. I enjoyed it. And it's great to see you.
You too. Thank you so much. Okay. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you later.
Bye.
As humans, we're naturally driven by the search for better. But when it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't to search at all. Don't search, match with Indeed. When I was looking to hire someone, it was so slow and overwhelming. I wish I had used Indeed. If you need to hire, you need Indeed. Indeed is your matching and hiring platform with over 350 million global monthly visitors, according to Indeed data, and a matching engine that helps you find quality candidates fast. Ditch the busy work. Use Indeed for scheduling, screening, and messaging so you can connect with candidates faster. And Indeed doesn't just help you hire faster. 93% of employers agree Indeed delivers the highest quality matches compared to other job sites, according to a recent Indeed survey. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/podcast. That's Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. As humans, we're naturally driven by the search for better. But when it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't to search at all. Don't search, match with Indeed. When I was looking to hire someone, it was so slow and overwhelming. I wish I had used Indeed. If you need to hire, you need Indeed. Indeed is your matching and hiring platform with over 350 million global monthly visitors, according to Indeed data, and a matching engine that helps you find quality candidates fast. Ditch the busy work. Use Indeed for scheduling, screening, and messaging so you can connect with candidates faster. And Indeed doesn't just help you hire faster. 93% of employers agree Indeed delivers the highest quality matches compared to other job sites, according to a recent Indeed survey. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/podcast. That's Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.